you know what? I was going to start with something like we're going to need a bigger podcast, but that is just too cliched. I am genuinely emotional that the time is here, nearly 6 years after Rusty Junk was started. This is the time. This is when we cover, and it's no secret to anyone that's been listening to the podcast. And sorry, spoiler alert, the greatest film of all time for me. We're here, 1975, 50th anniversary. All the celebrations are going on as we speak in Martha's Vineyard, and I'm not there, but I'm not bitter because I'm here with you two, and it's that's a very good replacement, a very good substitute. It's great, but to see your smiling faces and to join in this joyous, hopefully joyous, celebration of this film, I can't wait. I literally can't wait. I have been chomping at the bit ever since we decided to do it, and yet here we are. Um, I don't know who wants to go first on this, but I'd like to go last, if that's all right. So I'm just going to pick Dom.
Wow. Okay. Follow that then, eh? Okay. Well, here we are.
No pressure. I mean,
What it's a pleasure to be sharing the film with you. One of the things that I enjoy, and I'm sure I hope our listeners and viewers enjoy as well, is when somebody genuinely loves a film and is passionate about it, hearing that enthusiasm come across. So I'm looking forward to doing a deep dive into some of the trivia and the nooks and crannies of this film with you, and basically putting my feet up for the next 45 minutes whilst you
I'm just
bring,
getting warmed up.
bring it to life. So okay, so from my perspective, for what it's worth, these little crumbs at the start of the pod that you're going to serve up. So I sat down to watch this, wondering if definitively I could say this was going to be Spielberg's masterpiece, because it's got everything going for it, hasn't it? The original summer blockbuster, the highest grossing film in history for an extended period of time, and it's a film that's often cited as being the textbook example of drama and suspense and storytelling. And brace yourself for a shock, dear viewer, dear listener. It is a good film. It's a very good film. The casting's great. Roy Schneider, Robert Shaw, and for me, favorite Dreyfus in this, I just think is fantastic. And the story, film, editing, cinematographer, all great. My only reservation, and
Oh,
I
I
think
knew it. I knew it.
I think it's fair to hold a mirror up to the film that you're about to laud as the perfect film is how much it stands up to repeat viewing. Now, clearly, someone like you, Charlie, has watched it. I don't know, 100 times
Over
perhaps.
300 times.
But I think when you lose when you know how the film goes, you lose the jeopardy and a little bit of the drama. Watching it for the first time has been an incredible experience. And it didn't grip me all the way through as I rewatched it. I think it does sag a tad in the middle between the first flush of killings and the third act when they go out and hunt the shark. There's even like an odd 5 minute sequence when we just watch Brody reading a book to brush up his shark knowledge, and I thought that was an interesting directorial choice.
It's a minute at best.
Okay, it's felt
Right.
felt longer. So if somehow you haven't seen this film before, I urge you to go out and watch it. And if you haven't seen it for a long time since you're a kid, perhaps, then take this opportunity, the 50th anniversary, to go and watch what is a very good film. For me, it's not Spielberg's masterpiece after all, but it's a good, solid 8 out of 10.
Poor Charlie.
Oh, I've got hairs on the back of my neck just gone up. Right, okay.
It's like you grabbed a crossbow and shot him right through the
If this
heart.
is the last podcast that we do, I'm just going to have fun. It's great. Okay. Joe, then please follow that.
So I did like the cardinal sin of watching this movie when I watched it a couple of weeks ago. I had my phone with me and I was kind of half paying attention to it. And after an hour, I realized this is wrong. This is not the way I should watch it. I would have definitely given it a lesser score. And unfortunately, a lot of people do watch movies that way now. But I did rewatch it this week, and it is a movie that you have to have all your attention, paid upon it. And it's a brilliant film, and it's I kind of crap on Spielberg sometimes. I think he's a bit overrated, but I think he did an amazing job with a lot less than most people had. You know, when I hear the stories, which Charlie would be able to tell better than I would, but it wasn't an easy film to make. there's a lot of problems going on behind the scenes. And he did his best, and he did an amazing job. Like Dom said, I think the three main characters, the cast, I think they were so good. It's kind of hard to. What I find interesting too is that they're so different, all of them, like their characteristics, their personalities. It's hard to find a favorite with them, and a lot of times I'll switch back and forth. It's like, well, I really like Hooper. And it's like, well, no, I like Brody. But, I think Brody's the better character. But it's just so well done that they can get three different, I guess, characters with different personalities, and it works well. Where it just, they did such a great job. I kind of disagree with Dom with the rewatchability. I never get tired of watching this movie. I don't watch it. I haven't watched as much as Charlie, for sure, but it never gets old for me. I mean, I have a few nitpicks that are just like nerdy nitpicks, but I might bring it up later on in the podcast. But I think that overall, this movie changed how we looked at going to the beach. Definitely for me, I had seen it when I was a kid, and I was vacationing in Florida, and the next afternoon we went to the beach, and I was really hesitant going in the water. And I think to this day, I'm still a little hesitant going into the water, even though I find myself at some point where I'm in the water up to my neck when I go to the beach. You still kind of you can't see what's underneath you, and I think in a way that's good because there's probably some nasty, especially where I live. There's stingrays, there's crabs, there's nasty looking fish for sure, and I know where I am too. There's sharks too. And
Ooh.
so it's in a way it's good that you can't see it. But yeah, I think a lot of people have that fear now about going into the ocean, after seeing this movie. And for Spielberg to have done that is amazing. Like I feel like he changed culture in a way, like where people would look forward to going to the beach and going swimming and frolicking, whatever they did. And now they had this fear that, what if they were attacked by a shark? And when you kind of like look at the shark attacks that happen, there's not that many. I mean, unless you're in Australia, I think it's more frequent in
Ooh.
Australia. But like Martha's Vineyard, that's got to be rare, and even like over here in Florida, I don't think there's that many. But, I'll just end it with excellent job. I'll give this a 10 out of 10. And I'm glad Charlie picked it. And I'm curious to see, since this is his favorite movie of all time, and the
Ooh.
movie that he's watched. How many times have you watched it?
Well, I stopped counting at 300.
Wow. Well,
It's a lot.
before we get on to the main event, which is your review, can I just commend Joe on his use of language during that little summary there? Any review which involves the word frolicking, I think, has to be applauded. And if we ever want to rebrand the podcast, I think Nerdy Nitpicks is a great title for our pod. So maybe that's our
Okay.
like spin-off pod. Yeah, Nerdy Nitpicks. So
Or film
no, love it.
frolics.
Film frolics. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
People
that'll bring a different sort of
with
audience.
a different audience in, but once they're in, then then we can hopefully entertain them and go, I was expecting something else, but this is quite
Wow.
refreshing and
Let me
insightful.
put. Well, Joe's verbal foreplay has got me moist. So, come on,
Wow.
Charles,
Jesus,
ram
I
it
didn't need
out.
to
Well,
hear
I,
that.
I can
Yeah.
only apologise for a little extended bit because there is a story attached to this. Um, if you are listening to us and you're not watching on YouTube, you might miss a bit. So I will try and put some audio description of what it is that I've got. But if you actually want to see some of the stuff that I'm going to show as part of this, then I would tune into YouTube, stick on YouTube, and stay with it. A lot more people, I think, watch us on YouTube. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Plus Charlie's got a goatee, listeners. So yeah.
yeah. But then if they've been listening on audio, they'd never have known. They'd have just gone, oh, it's that smooth silk voice of silk. They never would have said, well, what does he look like in real life?
Well, the sex appeal's a 10 out of 10. That's all I'm saying with the goatee. Yeah, the
Oh, crikey.
little clip tickler that he's
A
cultivated there.
lot of
So
love in the room for a lot of different reasons. That's fine. Anyway, where did it all start? It started, dear listeners, with a book. In the UK, we had something called Reader's Digest, which was basically a condensed version of novels. And if you wanted to go and read the main one, you went and go and read the whole lot. It got enticed you in. This one was delivered to my grand Nan's house when I was 7. So she had it in there, and because it has completely different, nothing that appears in the film. It's just completely made up. So I'm showing you the start. I'm showing you the right image. It's also got hand drawn photos. Hand drawn pictures in there, which is describing it. Obviously, the book is different to the film. Brody has an affair with Hooper. Brody's wife has an affair with Hooper. That would make for a different story.
That would have been different.
But yeah, so I read this at age 7, and all I can say is, we will talk about Chrissy's death, which starts the film, which is some people say is one of the greatest openings of all time. If that's the case, you read the book, and if you try to do the book, The Attack on Chrissy Watkins, it would have been a completely different film. That's horrific, the way it's described in the book. But yet, this 7-year-old is very intrigued by it. So when everyone took Janet and John to school, which are famous books in the UK, for book day, I took in Jaws, age 7.5. So I took that in, and basically the school went. I started reading this, like, Charles, just shut up, stop reading. Parents were called in. How can he be reading this at age 7? It's traumatizing for adults. Why is he reading this? How did he get his hands on this and all this lot? And basically, my nan gives me a little wink and go, "Well, you loved it, didn't you? You like it." And I'm like, "Yeah." Parents banned me from watching Jaws until I was 9, and it was shown on ITV, one of the major channels over here. I was at Mark Parrish's house. I don't remember a lot of my friends growing up, but I do remember Mark Parrish because his mum said, "I'm leaving you two in the lounge. Just put on some TV. There's some snacks in there." And he turned to me and he said, "Do you know what's on ITV tonight?" And I went, "Jaws." And I went, "We're watching it." And I sat there and I watched it. And at the end, I remember thinking, I didn't articulate it, I didn't say it out loud. I remember thinking, I will never watch a better film than this. And I never did. I've watched films that have entertained me. I watch films that make me laugh, make me cry, make me thoughtful, make me ponder, all this sort of stuff excite me. But no films. Some will come close. I'm not saying it's going to be, but for me, this is just a great film. We can get into all the trivia. We can get into me trying to watch trying to get my daughter to watch Amy. 2 attempts now, and it's just not going down well. And I just think maybe that's like a different audience now. They want more blood, guts, whatever, mobile phones in there. The shark movies that they make now are pretty rubbish. But yeah, there's still shark movies to be made because, as Dom, both of you said, there is this inherent fear that's created by watching it. I never went in the ocean, and it took until I was 29, and I was on a boat in Kavos, overseas, and basically there was a guy threw 6 bottles of cheap carver into the river, into the ocean, and the girl I was with said, "Can you go and get me one?" And obviously I just dived straight in, went down, retrieved it, fought off a couple of people who came up. And as I came up, I held it up and I suddenly realized, shit, right, I'm terrified. And what did the guy do? Yes, he played the Jaws music to everyone. And I was like, great, wonderful. But it didn't stop me. I then felt fine. I now do diving. Do I hear the Jaws music when I'm diving? Yeah, I do occasionally. You'll turn, you'll see something, you'll see a shadow. It'll be absolutely fine. But then it does go through your head, but it doesn't scare me anymore. I think if I saw a shark, I think I'd be, unless it was wanting to eat me and it wanted to attack me. I think if I saw a shark and it was just swimming around and doing its shark thing, I don't think I'd be worried. I don't think I'd be. So I think I've come on a particular journey from this film, but we'll talk about the sequels. We'll talk about some of the other things. But what I would like to do before we go into that, until we watch the trailer, I'd like to show you that I have Jaws cereal. Yes, there is such a thing. Jaws feeding time. I paid a lot of money, very delicate, for the original vinyl
Hmm.
when it came out, which I do like. I got this hefty book. I won't go through everything, but I got this hefty book that I paid a lot of money for 13 years ago. It is Jaws Memories from Martha's Vineyard. It is just teeming with everything that a Jaws fan would want. It goes down into some of the minor characters that nobody would ever go down to. But what it also came with is this beaut. It came with a DVD of all of the Super 8 stuff that was taken at the time, like behind the scenes. So that's good. And this is where you really do need to be watching instead of listening. It comes with a piece of the boat. So I get a piece
Oh,
of
that's where you got
boat.
the piece of the boat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's what I'm 119 of 1,000. The 1,000 sold out within a day. So I was very lucky to get one, and I have to pay the extra shipping to get it over from the States. But yeah, they've tried to redo this, but obviously it's paperback and it's not as luxurious as the one that I've got at the moment. So yeah, it's just for me, it's just everything. It's not a series of set pieces. It's not right. Okay, we need to get to this bit. We need to get to this bit. There's enough in the middle of all of the segments to look at it and go, whose film is this? Is this? You can look at it one time. You can look. Is this Hooper's film? Is this Quint's film? Is this Brody's film? Is this Ellen Brody's film? Is this the mayor's film? There's so many different ways that you can look at
It's
this.
Brody's film.
Well,
I'll give you the answer.
well, well, it's yeah, but I mean, you can look at it and see the evolution of different characters because it works so well. If the shark worked, because obviously the famous line is the shark isn't working, which they heard on the radio throughout the island, it's still not working. If it worked, it'd have been a different film. You would have seen the shark early. You would have been Jaws 2, basically, where the shark is seen pretty quickly. Does that make Jaws 2 a bad film? It's not. It's not a bad sequel. But the fact that it didn't work means Spielberg accidentally is said, well, he's a genius. He didn't design it that way. He just got lucky. Well, unlucky, and then got lucky because the thing didn't work. So I think the tension's great. I do have things wrong with it, by the way. I do have things that do bug me every time I watch it. And I do mean this on a final note. I watch this and I see something new in it every single time. And for someone that's watched it so many times, even today, somebody pointed out like the dog on the bridge is Pippin,
Yeah.
the dog that went missing. And I'm like, I'd never noticed the dog. So it was obviously a reusable dog. 10 out of 10 for me. The memories, I've seen it in 3D, I've seen it in IMAX. I'm about to go and see it in 3D, IMAX, and everything else when it's released over here again. I'm hopefully going to take my daughter. She's going to sit in a cinema with no phone and watch it how it's supposed to be. And I hope it terrifies the heck out of her as much as it did me. But anyway, well, after that, sorry, it was a bit of an elongated one. But let's go into the trailer. I was going to say where it all
That's what
started.
she said.
Well, I never saw this. I just think that I think this is absolute genius. But anyway, here's the trailer.
There is a creature alive today who has survived millions of years of evolution without change, without passion, and without logic. It lives to kill. A mindless eating machine. It will attack and devour anything. It is as if God created the devil and gave him jaws. From the best-selling novel, Jaws. Rated PG. Maybe too intense for younger children.
I mean, it's. I mean, At the time, the book was a bestseller. People wanted to go and see the book, but I never realized, Joe, this is something that took me a while to realize. In the States, summer was where you dump films that people that you weren't really that bothered about because they always said, well, people don't go and watch films in the summer. They're out. They're on holiday. They're on, vacation. They're doing all of this. So summer was where the duds were buried. So Jaws being released in the States at that time, game changer. Yeah.
I mean, I heard that, but I mean, I guess I don't recall what like blockbusters. Yeah, they used to release like Disney movies, or they would kind of just like reissue Pinocchio or something like that. Mostly for the kids to go see during the summer. But I don't remember like when was Godfather released. I mean, maybe that was probably released like towards the end
72.
of the year. I mean, I know the year, but like if it
Oh,
was the summer or winter. But if they're saying it, I mean, I could believe it.
yeah. And it just captures something. And the great stat is 67 million people saw this in the States. A third of the population went to the cinema to see this. You'd never get. I mean, I don't even know if Endgame or Avatar have that sort of buzz. I know obviously the ticket prices are higher and but even prorated, this made $500 million. $500 million back in 1975. It's just crazy money. I didn't do the research, Joe. I'm thinking that Star Wars knocked it off.
I think so. I think that the blockbusters that appeared after that, it
Mm,
was Star Wars and something else that was really big.
mm,
Once they had that one summer blockbuster, the ones that followed just kind of knocked it off.
mm.
There's a famous letter that Spielberg wrote to George Lucas after Star Wars knocked off its perch, and it's got little R2D2 fishing for Jaws with a little rod. Have you not seen that? No,
I
it's
do
quite
remember
cute.
seeing that now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so in a very classy way, congratulates him for taking the record. So yeah, that's worth checking out.
Yeah, definitely. Um, can we talk about the start? What do we think of the start? Again, Tarantino said this is the best movie, not the best film. I think he said is that this is his opinion. So obviously in good company there. But what do we think of the start? Do we think the start is
Well,
effective? I mean,
let me answer that. So obviously, it did brilliantly as you just described in America, but it's easy for me to see why it did so well internationally as well. Apart from all the raw ingredients of a famous book and the word of mouth which would have spread. But that set the opening scenes on that beach in America, that it's so evocative to someone from Britain in particular, but I guess Europe. It's everything that you kind of imagine when you think of America, kind of carefree summer days, quality of life, the blonde attractive girl going skinny dipping. That's what's not to love about that as an
mm,
opening scene before it becomes gory and bloody. So
can't
yeah,
do that at
that
Skegness.
no, exactly. In Blackpool, where there's a turd floating past you, floating past your nose as you jump in, and yeah, the cause of death isn't shark bite, but swallowing some contaminated condom, probably. But yeah, so yeah, as well as being a wonderful film, it's so evocative of that kind of time and space and freedom in America and all those things, which makes it incredibly appealing, I think. So yeah, brilliant opening scene.
Mm,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, I think that it really sets the tone, and I think that that's the scariest scene in the whole movie for me.
Yes.
Um, it's I can't even imagine seeing that on the IMAX. I think if you take your daughter to see that in the IMAX, that's going to freak her out the most, and then you're going to have problems. I mean, it
Yeah,
gets a little less. I would say probably the scene after that is with
Alex Kintner.
Kintner's kid. Yeah.
Mm,
But I still don't think it is as bad as that one because you didn't see Kittner scream. I mean, you kind of it was quick and that was it. This one was very prolonged.
mm.
But while watching it this time, so here's one of my nerdy nitpicks
There we
is
go.
that
Yes, I know. No, it's all are welcome.
she had to be like from that angle, she had to be swimming in about 100 feet of water. And I don't think that's possible from where she was. And also the way that he bit her and apparently had her in his mouth and that she goes from one side to to the other side I mean, he'd have to be upside down, or I mean, or kind of like,
Like he's in the
looking
poster.
up.
Yeah. Or not?
Yeah,
No.
yeah. And sharks don't do that. I mean, or they wouldn't like kind of move her around like that, going left and right. It's just like devour her. But it also created more drama by what they did too. I'm just kind of ruining a special moment, I know, but
No, no, not
I
at all.
just
I mean,
feel.
people know it, and people, respect it. That's fine. Just
And I
I've
also
got
felt it would
nitpicks.
it would take quite a long time for her arm to show up on the beach instead of next morning,
Oh, I don't know about that, but okay, yeah,
unless that
yeah,
dog was
maybe.
around.
When you see her, uh, uh, Susan Backliny, her name is the actress. When you see her being dragged down for the first time, she comes up for air and goes like that, and she's like pulled down. The two divers, she had basically a harness strapped to her, and the two divers, one was supposed to pull her one way, the other one was supposed to pull her the other, but instead both got the wrong signal and they both pulled at the same time. So they broke her rib. So when she comes up and she's got terror and pain in her face, it's because they've just broken her rib
Oh wow.
by not coordinating each other. For me, every time I watch this, and watching it in IMAX, you're right, Joe, is a heck of a thing because you're at the water's level. Again, genius. You're filming it at that level. You are front row seats to this attack. This is horrific. Um, in 3D, weirdly, it didn't have the same sort of impact. It was still good, but it didn't have the impact that IMAX does. But every single time I watch this, I'm always like, God, I know this is coming. Despite the many times that I've seen it, it just has that much impact. I think. Maybe before we talk about some of the other characters, we talk about some of the bit characters, because after the attack, where Brody's told by the medical examiner that it's a shark attack, you're introduced to some of the other players. You're introduced to Deputy Chief Hendricks. You're introduced to Mayor Vaughan, who I think is a great character. What do we think? What do we think of the mayor? I mean, that jacket, first of all, is just incredible.
He's the fourth bit of amazing casting in this film, isn't he? After
Yeah,
the three lead actors,
absolutely.
he's I think he's incredible. I always think it's a nice anecdote that Boris Johnson, the ex-British Prime Minister, called Mayor Vaughan his political hero. So I thought that was a bold choice,
Really?
because he tried to cut through the hysteria and he wanted to keep the beaches open, and although he was ultimately proved catastrophically wrong, that was Boris Johnson's political hero, which I thought was amusing touch and probably tells you everything you need to know about Boris Johnson as well at the same time. But yeah, he's impeccably cast, and he's such a as the audience, he's obviously this kind of figure that you can loathe and despise. He's trying to do all the wrong thing, and you're rooting for Brody. So he really gives that, for this kind of first act, the first part of the film, he gives it its kind of resonance and tension in a way that's very effective, I think. And believable as well. He is trying to do the right thing for this community, which he is responsible
Yeah.
for.
But it's not just him, it's the whole board were a bunch of assholes. I mean, they all wanted to keep the beaches open. They all were in denial. All that they were thinking about was making money, or the money they were going to lose during the summer if they closed the beaches. So they're all kind of guilty. And it does, I mean, I don't want to fast forward in a way, but it does piss me off that Mrs. Kitchener ends up slapping, Brody. I mean, where he was doing his best to try and prevent something like that from happening.
But the buck stopped with him in her eyes.
Yeah, she's a bitch. We'll get to that later.
Well, she did because it took 17 takes, and because she hit him every single time. But he said Roy Scheider went, that's the most painful day I've ever had in my
So
career.
knocked her out.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I was going to say, before we get any further, so Dom, are there any Oscar bands for this?
There are, and I was kind of waiting for the right moment, but that seems perfect, Joe.
Oh yeah, well I'll just let you cue in the theme tune. I know we do that in the edit, don't we? So yeah, it got nominated.
No. Right, okay.
It got nominated for 4 Oscars, but crucially didn't get nominated for Best Director, Spielberg, which is one of those. In hindsight, a bit like when we did Godfather and Pacino, wasn't they got nominated but didn't win, didn't he? But yeah, so no Best Director nod for Spielberg, but did get Best Picture nod, and got beaten by one of my all-time favorite films and provocatively, maybe deservedly beaten in my book by One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So that one in 1976, also up against Barry Lyndon, Dog Day Afternoon, Nashville as well. So it was in esteemed
Yeah.
company, a solid year, the 70s,
No,
obviously
it's tough.
epic filmmaking. But it did win for Best Film Editing, and I think that is well
Oh,
deserved. I know
Verna Field's editing is just perfect.
it is. Often at these technical awards, to the lay person or even to the kind of slightly more informed lay person, if that's what we consider ourselves, then it can be hard to judge really what constitutes that. But I think everyone would recognise that this is a brilliant job that she did. Verna, I assume it's a woman, yeah, for film
Hmm.
editing. Also, perhaps inevitably won for Best Original Score as well. So John Williams winning for Jaws and Best Sound as well. And again, the sound is highly effective all the way through this. So yeah, so 3 wins, losing out on Best Picture for its 4th nomination.
No Best Actor nominations from any of them.
No, I guess it might be one of those where they split the voting, perhaps, or the nomination. Who do you go for? I'm with you, Joe. I think it's a Brody, Schneider vehicle, really. But yeah, there's some quality performances all
Robert
around.
Shaw might go. Oh, I'd like a bit of attention in there.
Yeah, that's your Oscar Bants.
Well, yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
wanted to bring up what I usually bring up too, which is like who almost was cast. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with this, Charlie.
I am. But yeah, read on.
So for Chief Brody, Robert Duvall and Charlton Heston were considered for that role. I think Robert Duvall would have been great. I like Roy Scheider. It's kind of hard to imagine someone else playing him, but Robert Duvall is just great at everything that he does. And um, I mean, even we probably would have accepted Charlton Heston just back then, but yeah, I think that Robert Duvall would have been a nice one. For Quint, it was Lee Marvin and Sterling Hayden, who I'm not sure who that
Sterling
is.
Hayden, yeah.
Um,
Lee
John Voight,
Marvin. Lee Marvin, though. Hmm.
yeah. John Voight, Timothy Bottoms, Joel Grey, and Jeff Bridges were considered for Hooper. And those are all pretty good names, I would say. Oh, although I don't know about Joel Grey. But yeah, I think that would be interesting too. But I do love the cast in there. And I kind of felt like this movie definitely made Richard Dreyfuss a star. Because like after that, didn't he do Close Encounters and
Close Encounters, yeah, and then made him a star. He didn't want to be in Jaws. He didn't want to. He didn't really see it. It's just his manager had said it's a good idea to go and do this, and he just made a film called The Apprenticeship of Judy Kravitz, and he thought that was it. He did Oscar and all this sort of stuff, and then when it crashed and the reviews came out, he basically turned around and went, "I need to do this film." So I think his ego was getting a little bit better of him. While we're talking about the actors, it's probably worth noting that last month I went to see something called The Shark Is Not Working, and it's a play, it's a theatre play, where it's basically all set on the Orca as the actors, so they're not playing the characters, they're playing the actors, and you see basically based on first-hand evidence, write-ups, biographies, and all the things that have been said. The person who plays Robert Shaw is Ian Shaw, is his son. And he looks exactly like him and talks exactly like him and acts. He is Quint, basically. The guy that was playing Brody was great. The guy that was playing Hooper was amazing. But you see that there's this tension between Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss, which lasted pretty much throughout the shoot. Robert Shaw would just stay in character with him and just berate him all the time. And any time that he tried to show any sort of, emotion about it, he basically thought, well, I've got him riled up now. Famously, Richard Dreyfuss took Robert Shaw's drink off him when they were on the boat and threw it overboard, which led to a small skirmish, and then people had to separate them. So, yeah. But Robert Shaw said at the end of it all, he actually liked him. But what he was trying to do is he said he knew there was a good actor in him, and he knew he was beating himself up about this film that he thought he was good in. And he said, if I didn't try to get the best performance out of him, he might not be the actor that he is today. So what he was actually doing was pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. So yeah, when they say that they all fell out, they did, but not in this sense. But the play is absolutely wonderful. It really is. It's worth catching. I know it's on tour. It goes all over the world. So it's definitely worth a look. But yes, moving on. So again, we get another attack. After that, the 5-minute book reading that you said, Dom, which is the nice comedic bit, which is where wife Ellen sees it and then sees Michael and Sean in the boat and said, "Did you hear your father? Get out of the boat now." It's a nice little comedic bit, but then you see, I really like this next bit where the two unnamed fishermen use the Sunday roast in order to get the shark. What do we think about this scene? Because the symbolism of the pier frightened the heck out of me when I saw it the first time. What do we think?
Well, I think my main recollection from that scene is that when it starts to go wrong and one of the guys ends up in the water and he's frantically swimming in his old middle-aged guy way back to the shore, again, you don't see the sharks. Your earlier point about they couldn't get it right, could they? So it's kind of not so much implied, but you see it through the jetty that's being dragged back as a shark comes in and is, whether Spielberg stumbled on that by accident or luck, but he absolutely milks it effectively because it is chilling, and you actually expect the guy to get caught and devoured, don't you? And the fact that he
Yeah.
doesn't, I don't know, adds to that kind of sinister edge as well, because it's not predictable. Somebody in the sea gets eaten, moves on to the next one. As you said, it's not a set piece. It's a story, and sometimes the shark's successful and sometimes it isn't, and it cranks up the tension and that unseen malevolent force beneath the waves. It's a very effective scene, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought it was like a bit of comic relief, until he gets in the water and everyone's scared. But I kind of felt that was at first made to calm things down. And then when it was all over and you saw the pier come in onto the shore, it's kind of a bit of a laugh.
At water
I would
level,
say.
again, that's the same thing. You're looking at it backwards from him slipping and sliding, trying to get out. That's the bit that the tension and oh my God, he's just going to get devoured straight out because it's coming closer and closer. And you realize that the shark has probably untangled itself and this is just drifting in now. There is no shark at the end of it.
Well, two things I'd say. One is I think you're spot on there with that, seeing it from the shark's eye view and different interesting angles. And I think that's a theme all the way through this. This is actually, despite my criticisms about how much you can rewatch it, I did notice that this watching is Spielberg is creative in the way that he engrosses you into the film and kind of engages you. You're not just looking at it in a typical as a camera pointing at a scene and the stuff going on. You're seeing it from people's point of view and you feel immersed in the film that way. And I think Joe makes a really good point that at the start the scene is kind of a bit of comic relief and then it does turn more dark and edgy and a bit more sinister, and I think that's good. I think most times I watch a film like this and I think, oh, if they'd only done it a bit darker it could have been even better. I think famously Truman Show, I felt that if they just made it 10% darker it would have been a better film. This, I think, in the director like Spielberg's hands, he does make it better because he knows how to kind of, I suppose, manipulate, you could say, but certainly how to take the audience and the viewer on a bit of a journey and the ups and the downs. If it was just a dark, really sinister, threatening, foreboding film, I'm sure it could still be a great film. But the way he does it, that interplay is pretty effective, I think.
Absolutely. And the one thing to actually go back on, I don't want to be a walking, a walking trivia on this. I will not do it a lot more than this. The Alex Kintner scene with the shot that Spielberg admitted that he stole off Hitchcock, which is where the camera goes in and the rest of it goes out, where it focuses on Brody's face as you realise what he's seeing. That was used in Vertigo. So he just basically took that shot and said, actually, I'm going to use that. The way that they filmed it, you can go and see that in any of the documentaries. The original Alex Kintner, the shark was supposed to come out. You see it, it would chomp on Alex Kintner, and his head and hands and arms would go one way, and his feet would go the other. And you just see the shark go back in while he's been bitten in two badly. There's hardly anything in the middle. That's the original one. There exists no film of that, but they did film it, and you can see the stills and the photos. That would have been horrific. Again, that's the film he kind of wanted to make, but didn't. So when you were looking for the darker film, maybe that's what he had in mind on. It's things like that. And, you would have gone away going, oh my God, this is worse than the first one, and so on. And it just would have gotten increasingly worse. What do we think about his wife? Because this it's never sort of mentioned when people do, Jaws. I know she's one of the surviving actors on this. What do we think? She good?
She barely has a role, I would say, in the film. In the book, she's an important protagonist because her
Mm,
affair with, is it Hooper, is a massive element to the plot, isn't it? And
yeah.
actually undermines trust and the relationships throughout this. But I think Spielberg was wise to cut that from the film because it would have made her too unlikable. Any kind of infidelity at all, but particularly female infidelity, I think is going to play badly with the audience. And
Mm.
I think so they cut all that, simplify it, and she becomes a bit perhaps one-dimensional. She's only in it a few times, and that's always pretty much when the kids are involved to try and look after the children. So it's a limiting performance for her.
But you always think, well, if you take it from Brody's point of view, and as he said, Joe, if this is Brody's film, then this is a fish out, sorry to use the pun, it's the fish out of water. This is somebody that's used to the hard streets of New York, has now come to here and gone, well, the only thing I'm going to get here is kids karateing the picket fences. That's the sort of thing that he was he thought he was going to get.
Yeah.
And I think when it all turns south, the line that Ellen Brody uses when Michael's not attacked but involved in the attack in the estuary, one of them is she said, "Oh, well, I'll take him home." She goes to New York, and so it's obvious that she's going, well, let's just, this is too crazy. I can't get on with the bureaucrats. I can't get on with the way that this town operates. I can't get on with the fact that my son was nearly eaten by a shark, and nobody seems to be taking any notice of it. Nobody seems to be caring about it. So she'd rather go back to New York than stay in Amity, which is telling.
I think,
Go on, Jay. You go.
oh, no, you go. You go.
I was to say, New York's an amazing city, of course it is, but Amity, I wanted to move there if it wasn't for the murderous shark attacks. It's got everything I would want in a town: the
Yes.
white picket fences, the sense of civic pride, the beautiful beaches. It looks spot on. Take me to Amity in 1976. I'd be a happy man.
I don't know about that.
Take me to it now. I'd still be happy. I'm watching like a kid in a candy shop. I'm watching YouTube and all this stuff going on and going, oh.
No, I'd be like, this sucks. I can't even go in the water and I'm surrounded by water. I mean, I wouldn't be happy living there at all. And what happens if there's a hurricane? I mean, and the water comes into the land and all that, which it wouldn't happen. But even so, I wouldn't want to live in Amity. There's better places to live. I would say, I mean, you're right, Dom. Like she is kind of one-dimensional, and I think that she's just basically there to support her husband and just kind of be the mom for the kids and all that. And I'm kind of glad when I was watching this that it was made when it was made. It was like 76 or 74.
Well, it's the filmed in 74, but released in 75.
Okay, 75. If it was filmed today and Disney did it, she'd be coming along with them on the boat, for sure.
She'd kill the shark, yeah.
And she would kill the shark, yeah. So I like the fact that, we can look back at things like this and say, well, maybe things have changed in life, but this was, they kept things accurate. Like they kept things the way that they would be. Like she's not a hero in this, and she's just there to support him. And I mean, I guess she's okay. I mean, I never saw the fourth one, but I have no idea why they felt like the need to make her the lead character. Like all of a sudden she's got to step up. It just doesn't make sense.
There's continuity errors, and 4 is just 4 has one of my favorite deaths in. But that's the only thing that's got going for it. I think it's the way that it's filmed is pretty good, but the whole premise of what Jaws 4 was supposed to be, Jaws the Revenge, sorry. Famously, Michael Caine was part of it. And Michael Caine was asked, "What did you think of the film?" He goes, never seen it, but I do like the house that it bought." It almost, evokes the fact that they tried to get characters back that you sympathise with, and there's Ellen, and obviously Martin's died, and now she's with Hoagie, Michael Caine's character. It was supposed to be that Michael, who was a marine biologist out in the Caribbean, pisses off a voodoo witch doctor who casts a spell on him, which basically resurrects the shark from Jaws 2. And the shark from Jaws 2 is the one that's supposed to be after them. So it resurrects them and follows them to the Caribbean. Yes, that was the plot of the film. Would it have made a better film? Probably, because what they came out with was awful. She is the main protagonist. She does kill the shark in the end. How she kills the shark is preposterous. Go and watch any of the two alternate endings, the US and the UK one. Just go and look, because neither of them make sense. So it's just horrible. It's just everyone involved should hang their heads in shame, including you, Michael Caine. You should know better than to get involved in this. But Jaws 3, while we're here, Jaws 3, very giddy, excited Charles, who then could go to the cinema and could watch what he wanted, in 1984, went and put on his 3D glasses in the cinema with the Jaws bit on the roof, on the roof of the mouth, and watched Jaws 3 in 3D. And had a thoroughly entertaining Saturday afternoon. It's my guilty pleasure still. One of the reasons why this podcast is set up is because it started as a website. It wasn't going to be called Rusted Junk. It was just going to be Forgotten 80s Movies. And the first thing that I wrote for the website was a critique of Jaws 3. I thought it was hilariously funny, but I procrastinated, left the website, didn't do anything with it, and then just had a swim one day and went, we need to do a podcast. And that's how the podcast happened.
I think Jaws 2 is a really good sequel.
Yes, it is.
It's kind of like, for me, like Superman the movie is my Jaws, like basically for you. And Superman 2 is equivalent to Jaws 2. It's like, it's not as good as the first one, but it's a fun time.
Yes, it is.
I think that whoever directed it, I mean, I know that there was some drama with that too. It's good that they had, Roy Scheider come back, and he definitely had to come back. Someone had to come back, but he did a good role in it. And again, if I would definitely watch that one and kind of like make it like the Superman movies, like 3 and 4 never existed, just stop at 2.
Yeah.
And you could say that with The Godfather too. Stop at 2,
I'd still make a good case for, I mean, Jaws 3.
You would.
Jaws 3 is filmed just up the road from you. And I can't believe I went to SeaWorld and didn't realise that there's loads of little tidbits and loads of little plaques and stuff everywhere that still exist at SeaWorld because it was filmed there.
Have you been to Martha's Vineyard? Have you been to see?
I one day, and I'll do it before I'm 60.
Well, I'll come, because I'd love to go there. That part of the world looks amazing. So
Wait.
yeah, we could make a little road trip. Yeah,
All of us. Joe,
Go for it, Joe.
Yeah.
My friends go there a lot.
Yeah, but it's prohibitive. I mean, it certainly was during the 50th celebrations are going on at the moment. It's prohibitively expensive to stay there. So what do you reckon? We get a Winnebago.
I wasn't expecting that question, but I don't know. We can stay.
I'm getting excited now.
Stay there for a couple of nights at least. Yeah.
Or you could stay outside of Martha's Vineyard and just go there during the day or something.
Uber it in. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm sure they still run Jaws trips.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they do.
Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. We'll just go and do that. The guy that's built I'm sorry to go, but the YouTube stuff is just great. Somebody has built a replica of the Orca and is giving people rides in the Orca, and it looks exactly the same. It's almost as if this was planned years ago, and it just looks amazing.
Didn't they buy that like from Jaws 2 or something, and then it sunk?
No, so the Jaws boat that I've got is the one that sank. The piece that I showed you earlier is from the boat that sank on command. So there was 2. There was one that was meant to be sunk, and the other one that was meant to float.
But I think there was an Orca in Jaws 2.
There is.
Also.
That's the one at the start with the divers.
And they sold that to like some guys that use it as a tour, and then I think it sunk.
Right. Okay. Well, I didn't. Yeah, I had no idea. But if that's still the one that's going from 1978, then bless them. It looks in pristine condition. Especially as the guy that looks like Quint that's doing the rides, which is pretty good. So that's that.
Did you
That
ever do
helps.
Jaws the ride at Universal?
Yes, many, many, many times. When the park opened up, when you could go in an hour and a half before
Hmm.
Universal, I just went on Jaws as many times as I could, many times until eventually the crowds were too much, and then I did it again, and then I did it again, but didn't do Jaws. I did the Back to the Future ride because both of them were just great. How the people do the Jaws ride and get so excited and can do their role and then reset and do it all over again. It's just incredible. I've got the book about people's memories of the Jaws ride, and it's such a good read because there's so many different angles for it to come on. Won't get bogged down in it too much, but the Jaws ride that I went on was not the original one. It had to change, but we can talk about that another time. It's fine. Let's go to the third act. Let's go to the
Yes.
third act. Third act at sea. Um, this is just incredible. This is where everyone's vying to be the leader of the acting masterclass. That they are all incredible. There's a cigarette paper between them all. You might have your favourites. I don't. I just think, my goodness, each one of them is great. Do you have favourites in this
I've
trio?
got. Well, I think my favourite bit of the acting, if the performance, is when Robert Shaw's doing his story about being on the USS Indianapolis, and
Mm,
they're pitched into the water, and 2/3 of the guys are eaten by sharks. That's my précis of it. But the way he does it, staring into there, that kind of believability of what's been a fun evening that far, and then just dropping that in there. I thought that was highly effective, and I thought he did a brilliant job in that scene.
definitely.
I think what was good about, again, that act is that it kind of calmed things down for a little bit. Like after us being terrified or having anxiety about something was about to happen, you kind of saw them not necessarily bond, but kind of like get at each other's throats. And, again, Quint was always kind of pissing on Hooper because he felt that really wasn't needed there. He's just a nerd or a scientist, and he knows how to catch a shark. He doesn't need some scientist to tell him how to catch a shark.
Mm,
And that was just fun. Again, you got to learn more about their characters, and again, it kind of felt like Hooper was there to provide some comic relief there too, because and I do remember when I was seeing, I was like, oh, thank God, just calm down a little bit. It's like, 'cause I don't think I could just take constant shark eating and shark attacks and all that.
mm.
Um, but I think that was brilliant too, the way that Spielberg had done that, because all of a sudden you didn't feel like you were in a horror movie anymore. You just felt like it was something more, like almost, well, I guess like drama or
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they did a great job, and especially it was like daytime, so that kind of lightened it up. I mean, then it became night, and they had their booze where they were kind of drinking, and they got a little drunk, which was, again, it was fun. And
But
then
would you realistically do that? Like on the night, you've had all this stress, you're hunting the child murdering shark, and do you think you'd get hammered and sing songs and do that for your
yeah,
night
I
out?
would.
Yeah.
I think
I
Okay.
Quint
think,
would, and if you didn't join in, you'd be chucked off the side. So yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay.
I mean,
I
if you
mean, what
look at,
else could you do?
well, yeah, what are you going to sit around and go?
I'd be like a
Let's
talk.
have a nighttime fight.
Well, call me a stickler for things, but I would maybe have a lookout so that when they got rammed by the shark with those barrels attached to it, it wasn't a complete surprise out of the blue. They were just sitting around singing songs and getting hammered. That's not a military operation, is it? That's not kind of
I
that's
don't
not what
think it's designed
out
to
of the
be though.
textbook. No, well, it
He's going to
certainly
kill it. He's
wasn't.
going to kill him for Hooper's along for the ride. There's no money involved with Hooper. Brody's along because it's my charter, my boat, and Quint's in it for the 10K that he's going to get.
Do you think we should look out the window, guys? No, next song. Let's have another bottle. Yeah, that's how it
Well,
was. They needed
Well, they could
HR.
have.
They needed HR on that trip with them. Yeah, they weren't properly organised.
I mean, there's no reason for them to have stayed out there the whole time. I mean, they could have left like by around 8 p.m. or something like that and just stayed at a hotel and then just come back and say,
in the
this is
book,
where we
that's what
shot
happened.
him.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
in the book, they came home every night. And Spielberg said, I couldn't let them come back in because I wanted you to feel isolated as they felt isolated as the audience. I wanted you to feel like it isn't just a case we can just, go 5-10 minutes that way and we're back. That they were really lost, out at sea. And
Have you guys ever been on a boat like that, like to go fishing?
mm,
I have, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
deep
have.
sea fishing. Yeah.
yeah, I've done deep sea fishing. I one time, I was out in the Atlantic, like up in New York too, and went deep sea fishing, and we were out for like 10 hours, and it was a small boat like that. And yeah, you get sick after a while. It's like because the boat is just it's not moving, it's just kind of basically rocking back and forth. You're just sitting there with the heat and having to deal with the salt water and the air and all that. So it's not a fun time. And I guess they didn't have to portray that, but I can't
Mm,
imagine being on that boat for as long as they did without them like getting violently ill.
yeah, absolutely. Can we talk about two of the other ways? We talked about the pier earlier, being the stand-in for the shark. The bit where he's the of the fishing rod is just genius. It literally is
Mm.
genius because it's like it's going a little bit more and a little bit more. Something's biting. You don't know what it is, but Quint thinks something's going to happen, and he straps himself in and he puts his feet on the pedestal. It's just brilliant. And then suddenly it's all go. It's all go. Um, because he's having the scrap, the continued scrap with Matt Hooper. Matt Hooper's good. That's not a shark, but bit through the piano wire. So obviously it was. But we have to, before we talk about all the drinking, we just had to have and move on from that. We do have to talk about is Brody's line when you finally see the shark for the first time. You want to come down here and chump some of this shit, and the shark comes up, and he goes back. When he says the immortal line, "You're going to need a bigger boat," which infuriates me because everyone goes, "Ha, yeah, we're going to need a bigger boat." No, 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 no. You're going to need a bigger boat. Is the line, and even some Jaws people who should know better make that mistake. That scene had to be extended because it was literally you saw the shark, it was backed in very quickly, and he went, "You're going to need a bigger boat." And when they did test audience was still horrified from seeing the shark that they were all like screaming and chatting amongst themselves. So nobody heard the line. So it didn't have that sort of comedic impact. And it is comedic. You've just seen this and you've gone to comedy very quickly. It's great. It's so good. But then the other symbolism would be the barrels. Nobody can go down with that many barrels on them. And every time you see the barrels, that's the shark. You don't need to see the shark. You don't need to see a fin, even. You just need to go, something's dragging this under the water, and it's big because it's taken on so many barrels. This is why I think people, maybe miss this, or maybe it is too obvious. I don't know, but when all of this, jumble all of this together and go, well, he did this and he did that and he stole that shot and he did this and it looks like this and it's at water level and you put it all in, you go, shit, man, it does deserve it's ranking in the cinema universe. But anyway, but we get to should we move on past the Indianapolis speech to the next bit?
I
So the
I did
shark
want to mention something
okay,
about the barrels.
yeah, yeah.
Um, what also makes that too is the score by John Williams.
Oh,
It, that
100%.
guy is amazing. When you think about all the scores that he did, especially with Star Wars, I always say he deserves 50% of the credit of that movie
Mm.
because that score was amazing. And it's the same thing with this too, because he made the Jaws theme, which again is iconic, but then he also made, other music or like I could remember that scene with the barrels, and it's not just it's more like kind of like
It's light music.
swashbuckling
It's yeah,
type
it
of
is, yeah.
and it's just really well done, and he just knows when to play music and when not to play music,
Mm.
and think he's great, especially during that scene.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The shark incapacitates the boat or puts it out of action because Quint wants to bring it into the shallows and drown him. And suddenly they're left with the only option is the thing that Quint ridicules from the start, which is the shark cage. Suddenly he realizes, well, we haven't got a lot of option now. We've got to use whatever we've got on board. And Hooper goes into the shark cage. Famously on this, not too much more trivia, but famously they got a what do they call it? Little person. He's supposed to say a little person
really?
and you see a shark attack. You know, you see the footage of the animatronic, the fake shark with real sharks. Valerie and Ron Taylor filmed all of that. It attacked the guy. I can't remember his name, but basically he was scarred for life. And they managed to get just enough shots of him in scale to make the shark look bigger. But that bit when he's down in, that's the bit when you're diving that you think you said, Joe, you don't know what's underneath. But even if you're diving, you haven't got eyes in the back of your head. And he's trying to see where the shark would be.
Well,
That's
I mean, like the
a great
water's
scene.
murky. Like you can't see anything. I mean, it looks like mud, like when you're in the ocean half the time. I was going to say with that scene too, that's the one thing, the one scene I don't like when they
Okay.
use the real shark, because even though it is a real shark, it doesn't look like the Jaws
Doesn't it look,
shark.
yes.
It doesn't look like
Where
the
it's turning the
monster.
cage over with its rolling around at
Yeah.
the back. Yeah. Too quick. It's not as
Yeah.
cumbersome.
Yeah, you could tell it's definitely not the same shark.
Absolutely. Um, so yeah, Hooper manages to get away. He's eaten in the book. Um, but Shark rises up. It turns out that Roy Scheider was right. Brody was right. You're going to need a bigger boat because the boat ends up becoming basically engulfed by the shark, and Quint means it's untimely death. What do we think about the death scene? The gurgling blood and all of that. Do you think it looks? Think it still stands up?
I mean, the shark does look unreal. It does look artificial, doesn't
Mm.
it? And that's what they'd successfully avoided all the way through the film, as we've discussed. So to
Mm.
kind of the bit where you unambiguously have to have the shark there, I think by that time it's earned enough credit that you just probably go with it. But objectively, dispassionately, it does look a bit unrealistic. Yeah.
And you look at the rubber teeth. You can see the rubber
I
teeth.
think that, well, again, you have to suspend disbelief for a lot of that scene that's going on, especially when Jaws does kind of jump onto the boat. It kind of looks like he's a basketball player dunking, like where he kind of lifts his body out of the water and onto the
Air
boat.
Jaws.
It just doesn't look right. Yeah, Air Jaws. But I think that Quint sells it though. He does a good job with
Yeah.
his death scene. So he does a good job at that.
Captain
And just,
Ahab meets his untimely death. Yes.
yeah, that even though again, again, you can nitpick that scene all you want. It's still a great scene. It's like a lot of tension and if you've seen it multiple times, you know what's coming, and you can't wait for that part to come.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
definitely. I do like the
yeah.
foreshadowing as well, though. Before we get to the scene with the air tank, clank. If you screw around these things, mate, it's compressed air.
It's gonna blow up.
It'll blow up. Yes. Right. Okay. That's good to know. I wonder if that's going to come in useful towards the end of the film. I think "Smiley son of a bitch" is a great line. It's just yeah. Again, I could go to the trivia and I mean the shark dying was in Jaws 1 was reused for Jaws 4 because it was just like balls. Let's I'm getting bored with this. Can we just nick some stuff from the other one? This particular scene when Ellen is I'm sorry to introduce Jaws 4 at this point, but she's trying to kill the shark, and her memory is of Roy Scheider on his side with the rifle. And he's going, and you see the shark coming, you see the tank in the mouth, and it's all in sepia because it's all supposed to be a memory. and he goes, "Smile, you son of a bitch," and she does the same. You weren't there. You have no recollection of this ever happening. He
But
might
he
have
told
told
her.
you. Well, he might have
Yeah.
told her, but
Well,
she's thinking, and they just nicked from the first film. Ah,
maybe she,
balls.
maybe
Let's do
maybe she
that.
saw it. Maybe she saw it at the cinema, and it's some sort of like meta type scenario where she goes, "Yeah,
It's like
that's."
being John Malkovich. It's like, oh right, okay. She's like, what?
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
It was
Um,
interesting when I was watching it. I had the subtitles on, and during that scene, and I never noticed it before, but he's kind of mumbling about the tank. Like he mentions the tank several times as he's shooting at the shark and all that. I forget exactly what the words were. My
oh, I need
like, let me
to.
see
Oh,
that tank.
see, I need to turn. I need to. There's a new way to watch Jaws. Right,
Yeah,
I'll go and do that after this. I will go and
Yeah.
watch that
No,
scene.
I noticed he's mumbling about it because he might as well have gone the ones that explode. That's right, just to kind of link it explicitly for the audience. But yeah,
Do you know? I watched it quite a few times. I think probably 5 or 6 before I realised that it isn't just a nice picturesque scene after the shark gets blown up and Hooper and Brody are making their way back to the shore with the barrels. That in that sea shot, that's Hooper and Brody coming in shore. It took me
yeah, I
ages to
noticed that for the
realise.
first time. I just noticed it the last viewing I had too, that was them,
And in
and I
Jaws
wasn't sure
too,
if
when
that
he
was
gets,
just
yeah, go on.
if that was just debris or something like that that was
No, you
floating.
see them getting out.
Yeah, you
Because
do see them
yeah,
getting
yeah.
out. Yeah.
And in Jaws 2, when he gets fired and you see Chief Brody's house, he's got them as planters at the front of his house. He's reused the barrels as a not that you'd want a memory of all of that, but yeah, why not? Stick that in.
So
Uh,
I was going to ask you, so with Jaws 2,
hmm.
is that shark related at all whatsoever to the first shark?
In the book, it's the mother.
It's the mother.
Yes, so it's supposed to be bigger. It's supposed to be a
It's like,
bigger shark.
where's my son?
Well, and then you get Jaws 3, which is about the mother and son.
Is it really?
Yeah,
What? Wait, how is Jaws 3 about the mother and the son?
because the baby gets trapped. The baby gets trapped in the park, and the mother comes in, uh, and then they kill the baby, but the mother's still in there, and the mother goes on a massive rampage.
And I think it was, no, it actually was in Jaws 2. I was watching something about Jaws 2 today. They said that originally when, the shark dies by electrocution and it ends up floating to the bottom of the
Mm,
ocean, that a bunch of baby sharks come out of the womb, and they filmed it and they showed it to test audiences, and they were all annoyed with that because they
mm,
felt like it kind of ended on a good note. And now all of a sudden you have a fleet of them that kind
mm,
of just came out of the shark. And not only that, but it was like sequel bait. It's almost like there'll be a Jaws 3, So
mm.
they removed that whole scene from there.
Well, I'm glad that there was, and if you ever do fancy going and WhatsApping me while you're at SeaWorld, Joe, at any point, I'll tell you which way places to go to, and I'll be practically brimming with excitement at that, and rectifying the
I was
fact that
think
I missed it the first time.
I was thinking about going.
Yeah, come on, yeah. I should come over there actually, yeah, because I've still got
Yeah.
my Virgin voucher. Come over there. We'll go to SeaWorld. We'll do Jaws 3
Yeah,
punt.
open invitation.
Oh, nice, lovely. Right,
Both
so
of
we've
you.
got that road trip to Martha's Vineyard with the three of us. Yeah, or Edgartown or wherever close, wherever's cheaper.
not
Probably
wherever's cheaper. Bloody
no
hell.
cheaper to stay. I meant,
Yeah,
you
let's
know,
treat ourselves a bit, eh?
let's get a tent.
Let's have a beach party if we can find some girls to come along and go skinny dipping. That's the weekend for me.
No, wait a minute. Now, when I said that I was cured of things, I'm not sure I get in the sea at Martha's Vineyard.
Oh, I would.
Yeah,
Oh,
mate. That should be your like
Not at
profile
night
picture.
though.
no, no, not at all. But one of the things that they do regularly, well, certainly they do with George 50, is you could go on the beach. So the projector, the screen, big huge projection screen is projecting back onto the sea, and people sit in rubber rings and watch it from the sea. But there are divers underneath at certain points, and then when something happens, they'll grab the legs and then pull them down. And you might be one of them, you might not be. And I'm like, no fucking way. No,
Yeah, I wouldn't do that
absolutely no
part.
fucking way. Would I? No.
And it's at nighttime too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Balls to that. I should be looking for I know what to look for as a scuba diver. I'd be looking for stuff and go, no, you fuckers. And I'd whack them in the face. Break their face mask. Um, anyway, no, let's not end on that note. So yes, there we go. Our little bit of adding timely addition to the Jaws celebrations. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you've enjoyed this. I could have done another 3 hours on it. I could have bored you with loads of different more, but I think there was enough. The 8 out of 10. I'm not sure I'll ever forgive you, Dom. But you know,
No,
these things.
well, I am declaring in a rare move. I'm going to
What?
upgrade it. I've enjoyed myself so much this evening that I'm taking it up to a 9. So yeah,
9.
You've persuaded me.
Anyway, I'll forgive Dom for giving it a 9 and not. I'll just switch it at 9 to never mind. But yes, we don't know what the next film is because I just suddenly realised that we never discussed what we were going to do. But rest assured, we're not going to take as many breaks as that we've had. There's been many different reasons why we've needed a break recently, but we will be back every fortnight with your listening stroke viewing pleasure. We'll come up with something good. One of the ideas that we have, am I allowed to tell everyone?
Sure.
Contentious films. So obviously anybody that knows me knows my love of Tom Hanks and especially my love for Forrest Gump. And also Interview with a Vampire, which is one of only 2 films I've ever walked out on. We definitely won't watch the other one because it's so obscure that nobody would ever remember it. But just annoyed me, so I had to walk out. Interview with a Vampire, I feel fully justified. But I have said that if we do those next, and we may do them next, I will watch it with an open mind. I will watch it as if I'm watching it right from the start, and hopefully it doesn't have the same effect.
Or alternatively, we're always in the market for listener choices as well.
Oh,
So
100%, yeah.
I found out Keith Corden apparently listens to this.
Keith.
So if he's
Loves
made
it.
it this far, then he must be hardcore. As we go into our 20 minutes into this pod or whatever it is. So Keith, if you're listening, a recommendation's always welcome, or any of our dear listeners.
Yes.
I've got vague recollection. It's my choice next, but who knows? We can sort that out in the admin
Yeah.
that follows.
No, I
And
think it
my-
is your choice.
Yeah, it is your choice.
Go
So
ahead.
It could be your choice, and then we'll do the contentious films. It's fine.
We
can
will discuss
park it.
offline. We'll discuss
Ooh.
offline, listeners, for your viewing pleasure. So yeah,
Right.
let's hold that thought.
Dun dun dun. Anyway,
I was going
can't
to say,
wait.
so Charlie, if they made a remake of this, would you go see it?
No. Why? Why would I see a remake of it?
Well, I can see them making a remake of this
Oh, and
at some point.
who's going to be in it? It'll be.
I don't know.
Oh,
I mean, it'll never be
Timothy
as good.
Chalamet because he's in fucking everything. Timothy
Yeah.
Chalamet, who'll play Chris Hemsworth
Zendaya.
would play, yeah, and Zendaya. Oh, and Zendaya would kill the shark. Tom Holland would play Brody. Oh God, no.
Oh, and
100%.
Pedro Pascal. He'll
Oh,
play,
of course. Timothy Chalamet,
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal, Zendaya, and Tom Holland. There you go.
Perfect.
No,
perfect cast.
in fact, I wouldn't watch anything with them in. Mandalorian, the film. I couldn't. I can definitely wait. Can't wait about that. It's.
But I have a feeling, I bet your daughter would like that movie better than the original one.
Yeah, she would because they don't know what good is. They don't
But
know
that's
what
why they would
quality
remake
is.
it, is that they're trying to get a modern audience to see that movie.
Yeah, but
again.
you're telling me please don't tell me because this really won't make me sleep at night. If you tell me there are people out there that prefer the sequel to Coming to America than the original, there can't be anybody on the planet that thinks.
No, but that's not a remake though.
It's kind of a sort of.
It's a sequel. I mean, but I can they love to do that crap, like in Hollywood, where they feel like, well, let's just make money. Who cares if it's good? You know, it's got the name has got panache. You know, people will remember the name, and you know, we'll just make hopefully $1 billion, and then we'll make more sequels.
Absolutely. Anyway, this has been great. I've loved it. Yes, it's gone on for a bit longer than it normally does, but again, if you made it this far, we thank you collectively. So yes, who knows what we're going to be back, but we'll be back in 2 weeks, and I can't wait. So on that note, I'm going to say cheerio.
See you.
Bye bye.
Bye.